One of the things that would happen in Hawthorn once in a while is large windstorms in the wintertime. And one of the largest happened on January 17th, and it would have been about 1967. And this was so large that it would throw rocks that were 1 or 2 inches large, and it would throw pretty big rocks. Not so it wasn't just a sandstorm. Sandstorms we were somewhat used to, but this was 100, 110 miles an hour for the wind, and it was caving in windshields, so that the sheriff, for example, had to go out on the highway and rescue some people that were stranded that their windshield had caved in, and his broke too, but he went out and got them, and had to stick his head out the side of the car once in a while to see where he was driving. But just terrific high winds, so high that it would strip the paint off of cars on the side that it would hit the car. So it was like sandblasting things. Well, this happened at night, and we had a wooden porch, a patio awning that was made out of wood. It was substantial. It was made out of 4x4 posts with 1x6 planks and 2x4 rails on the top, and so it weighed probably 500 pounds, 600 pounds, maybe more. But it was about maybe 15 feet by 30 feet. It was pretty big. It was not bad, and it was on the western side of our house, and it shaded a little bricked patio that we had out there. Anyway, the wind was really blowing hard, and my brother and I slept in the same room, and it woke us up because it was rattling the walls. The walls were moving in the house, and Dale, I can remember him, he slept in these small beds, and he was kind of tired. He just put his hand out and he felt the wall. When he could feel the wall, he said, the wall's still there, everything's okay. Go to sleep. Well, we heard this patio awning finally break loose, and when it did, it went up and then went sideways on its end, and just one corner of it touched our house. And our house was probably, I'll bet it was 80 feet long altogether on its length, because it was kind of a long house, and then the garages were on the end of it. So it only touched the top of the roof one time. So it lifted it way up, and then one corner of it hit the top of the house in one spot, and then it hit a poplar tree that was bordering our driveway. Our driveway went into those garages, and it bent the poplar tree over, and then it went on out into the middle of the street and landed in the middle of the street. In the morning we had to go and gather it up out of the street and get it out. And there was a lot of damage in town, lots of trees down. But like I say, the winds were at about 110 miles an hour, this was really quite a large storm. And one of the things that happened was that the military base where my dad worked, a lot of the buildings were made out of concrete. So the walls were concrete. And some of them were raised high enough so that you could have a loading dock, and loading docks tend to be about 5 feet off the ground, and so you'd walk up some steps or have a ramp that a forklift could drive up on the ramp and get to the main building. And then the building would have just windows and doors like normal, but they would be strong windows and doors. Well, this particular building that my dad worked at was a chemistry laboratory. They had blown out all the windows on the western side of the building, and when it did, the sand had blown inside the building all night long, to the point that it was 4 or 5 feet deep on the inside of this building. And they had to bring in a front-end loader, a large piece of heavy equipment, into this building. It was really a chemistry laboratory before, if you can imagine, and scoop up this sand that would weigh many tons and haul it out of that building. And just to give you an idea of just how strong this windstorm was. The day before the night that this happened, I was at my elementary school, and it was a two-story structure, and I was in the second story looking out of the western windows, and we could watch the sagebrush, the tumbleweeds, the Russian thistle, come tumbling towards us, lots and lots and lots of it. And it was fun to watch all these tumbleweeds coming at us really fast. And it'd come tumbling towards us, and then as it would approach our building, because our building was a two-story building, the tumbleweeds would follow the wind flow, and they would just rise up, if just by magic, and they would go up 30 or 40 feet over the top of our building and float over the top of us. And we were, of course, watching these straight head on. The tumbleweeds would just come right over the top of us, and it was fun to watch those. But at that point, the wind was only blowing, let's say, 60 miles an hour. But during the night, it strengthened it, and it really was in the neighborhood of, like, say, 110 miles an hour. So this was really a terrific storm. Many cars had to be repainted, many windshields had to be replaced. It would put tiny pits in the glass of everything. Broke some people's windows in their homes. A lot of glass work had to be done to recover from that storm. Many trees knocked over. And that, of course, bothered the power lines, the phone lines, and did cause quite a bit of disruption. But so, anyway, that's just some of the weather that we have. But most of the time, the weather in Hawthorn was beautiful. The air is some of the finest air I've ever breathed, ever. It's just a perfect climate. It would get like 110 degrees for maybe 2 weeks during the summertime, and it would get a little bit below freezing a couple of weeks during the wintertime. It would snow. Some winters it would snow 2 or 3 times. It would melt fairly quickly. Sometimes the snow might stay for as long as a week. Never more than a foot or two of snow. So it's a fairly mild climate, I thought, and pretty comfortable place to live. But it did have 4 seasons, so you'd have 4 distinct seasons that you'd work with. But anyway, that's what it was like in Hawthorn.